Colorado's largest public company leaves town suddenly amidst criticism it's collaborating on Trump's surveillance state.
There are upwards several hundred people, I believe upwards of 500 people in Colorado.
Extreme winds push wildfires and lead to a terrible crash that's killed 4 people near Pueblo. As Denver prepares to ditch the surveillance company Flock for a new vendor, we look at the other contenders to keep a watchful eye on all of us. And Colorado prepares to have its 150th birthday overshadowed by America's.
The America 250 is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to engage with our history.
There's room to celebrate both tonight on Next. Colorado's most valuable publicly traded company just up and left the state. Palantir, the tech company known for building government surveillance, really stayed under the radar in Colorado, and its departure was equally quiet. Governor says he didn't know, same with Denver's mayor. Even the people who regularly protest outside Palantir's offices were surprised. Here's Marshall Zellinger.
Palantir's name is not on its headquarters in Denver, whether that's the Tabor Center downtown or this glass building in Cherry Creek North. And it does not matter anymore. Based on this social media post this morning and the company's annual investor report today, the AI technology company is now in Florida, just outside of Miami.
Even as we speak, there's activists in Miami mobilizing to keep the pressure on.
Michael has been protesting outside of Palantir's offices in Denver. He would only say his name is Michael.
It is safe to organize, but I like to be careful what I hand to a international surveillance and targeting company.
The protests outside the offices are in part because of Palantir's military contracts and reports the company is using artificial intelligence software to help ICE with deportations.
We believe that there are still operating offices here in Denver. We definitely won't be stopping our campaign anytime soon.
What I would be looking to is, does it affect any jobs here in Colorado? It's not clear whether a headquarters move would or wouldn't affect that.
Neither Democratic Governor Jared Polis nor Denver Mayor Mike Johnston received advance notice. Polis believes more than 500 employees are based in Colorado.
I have requested a meeting with executives at the company to see if we can learn more.
According to Palantir's annual investor filing today, the company more than tripled its annual revenue to $1.6 billion. The investor filing perhaps hints to a reason for the move. It mentions Colorado's AI bill from 2024. The law requires businesses using AI to protect against algorithmic discrimination and notify consumers when AI makes decisions affecting employment, finance, or healthcare. Palantir writes, compliance with such obligations may be difficult, onerous, and costly, and could adversely affect our business. Palantir also writes, our Colorado headquarters has experienced climate-related events and may continue to at an increasing frequency in the future, including drought, water scarcity, heat waves, and wildfires, and power shutoffs.
I guess I need to reach out to the energy company to find out if they believe they might be to blame with that power shutoff reason. When a company leaves, they're supposed to file a notice with the employment office in the state if there's going to be mass layoffs. We hope to get that notice later this week if Palantir has filed one. I haven't seen it listed yet.
So when we think about why companies move from state to state, sometimes you'll hear tax rates, right? Mm-hmm. But Florida's corporate tax rate is higher than Colorado's, but obviously they have no income tax.
Right, so I guess if you're looking to just, as a CEO, to keep more in your pocket,
yeah,
that's why athletes go to Florida over different states.
Right, and you think about what the impact could be if Palantir leaves town. I didn't see them sponsoring a lot of parades, if you know what I'm saying, right? There weren't a lot of Little League teams wearing Palantir t-shirts.
There are still job postings in Denver today on its website, so there would still be a presence, and I know there are some remote work, so it's unclear. I know the governor said he thought 500 or so employees in Colorado. It's just unclear how many are actually in Colorado.
All right, interesting stuff, and it just happened like that this morning. Marshall Zellinger, thank you. We knew that today's weather had the potential to be dangerous. Could not have imagined the horrific wreck on I-25 down south. 4 people are dead, 29 are hurt after low visibility and high winds led to a big pileup near Pueblo. Colorado State Patrol says more than 30 vehicles were involved in this crash, including several semis and a pickup towing a trailer with dozens of goats. Crash shut down I-25 in both directions for hours. Southbound is now open. CSP says it found out about the extent of the low visibility too late to close that part of the interstate.
Unfortunately, due to the lack of moisture and stuff that we've had in the area recently, the dirt and everything just transversed all the way across I-25 and created just what I'll call as a dirt or a brownout that visibility was next to nothing. So by the time we got those notifications, the crash had already occurred.
Massive response by law enforcement and ambulances down there. Pueblo County School District even brought out buses to just help move the numbers of people who were trapped away from the scene. Eastern half of Colorado's been on fire watch today. We saw a few small wildfires pop up. Firefighters are mopping up a fire in Matheson out in Elbert County. The smoke from that fire at its peak was visible from Lyman. People had to leave their homes because of a fire that started burning in Weld County today. It crossed into Morgan County in the area south of Wiggins, north of Hoyt. The evacuations are lifted. Folks can go home, and that fire is now contained. Let's talk with 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi. And Chris, man, we were prepared, right, for lots of snow in the mountains. We were prepared, obviously, for extreme fire danger. The thing that didn't come to mind for us yesterday was that blowing dust and dirt, and it just led to a horrendous situation down south.
Yeah, it's a good point, Kyle. That stuff can come in very suddenly. What happened around 10 this morning, just south of Pueblo, about 60 to 65 mile an hour winds, and that took that visibility and boom, took it from likely about 10 miles down to 0. And those sorts of brownouts, those big plumes of dust, they can really come in like as suddenly as they did this morning. The other thing to keep in mind is the wind was perpendicular to I-25, so high-profile vehicles, when you're talking about 60-plus mile-an-hour winds like that, they can blow over in winds that strong as well. And certainly think about that here in this part of the state with a really devastating event. Here so far today, we've seen some of those gusts, 66 miles an hour in Fort Morgan, had a wind gust near 70 miles an hour in the Fort Collins area earlier on as well. Those winds, though, will relax tonight. Still gusty tonight and into early tomorrow, but the wind not as bad as today. Fire danger still around tomorrow, just not as bad as today. Other story, of course, we're watching for that mountain snow. We've had some bursts of snow and even some snow squalls northwest of Fort Collins. Snow squall is a burst of snow and wind. Think of a thunderstorm in snow fashion. That's what we've got that potential for a few hours for us here in the mountains, and that snow will continue into tomorrow and tomorrow night. 8 to 16 inches for the I-70 mountains and south of there. Could be talking about 20 inches before all is said and done. Here in Denver, though, maybe a few flakes for us on Friday, but we cool down this week before we warm back up this weekend.
Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert's young grandson wandered out of her house for the second time in 7 months over the weekend. Her adult son is now facing a second child abuse charge as a result. Boebert told me today that there is no excuse and that she's very frustrated this happened. Boebert's 2-year-old grandson often accompanies her to Washington and around the district. She says she was at an event in her district and her 20-year-old son was watching the boy at her home on Sunday when the toddler got out of the house, which is near a lake in Windsor. Windsor police say that Tyler Boebert was cited on a misdemeanor charge of child abuse without injury. He's already facing a trial in April on the same charge for a similar incident at the Congresswoman's home last July. At that time, Congresswoman Boebert released a statement saying it was a, quote, one-time incident that we have addressed as a family. President Donald Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill created a bunch of new corporate tax breaks, and Democrats in Colorado say it is having an ugly impact on the state budget. So today they unveiled a bunch of bills to reverse those changes at the state level. For the most part, Colorado's tax policy mirrors what happens at the federal level. So when Congress passed a new tax bill, including corporate tax breaks last year, those went into effect in Colorado as well. Now Democrats are trying to hold on to some of that tax revenue by capping corporate write-offs and deductions for things like operating losses and salaries for out-of-state executives. Instead, the bill's sponsors want to move that money into tax credits for low and middle-income families with children. In a special session over the summer, Democrats at the state capitol already overturned some of the federal tax cuts, like allowing the state to keep collecting income tax on overtime pay. Republicans at the state capitol have brushed off the impact of the One Big Beautiful Bill. They blame Colorado's budget problems on overspending.
Probably less than 5 that would even consider themselves close to being a flock competitor.
Denver might be ditching its flock license plate reading cameras, but tech experts say the alternatives likely under consideration could just be more of the same. And Colorado and America, both celebrating major milestones this year. This is big time stuff for history nerds. History Colorado takes us behind the scenes for their dual celebration preparation. Next.
Corey Reppenhagen is on the Weather Beat. From dead to blizzard, a weak winter's brief storm flex, a day for snow squalls.
That was Corey Reppenhagen on The Weather Beat.
Denver's auditor says he can't, in good faith, sign the city's contract for flock surveillance cameras. He made that announcement today. As we have previously reported, the mayor says, it doesn't matter if the auditor signs the contract. We reported last month that contract, executed by the mayor 3 months ago, was still sitting there unsigned by the auditor, who typically signs city contracts. In October, the mayor extended the city's contract with Flock unilaterally, bypassed city council. In a letter to the police chief today, Auditor Tim O'Brien said he would not sign the contract because he thinks it opens up the city to liability. His office told us he is concerned about the contract's terms on sharing and accessing personal identifying information, PII. Colorado law says a license plate qualifies as PII, and it outlaws sharing a license plate for the purpose of immigration enforcement. Auditor O'Brien was worried about the risk that would come with that information being shared with outside agencies. Contract's up at the end of March, and as we reported here Friday, Denver's signaling it's going to move on from Flock. It's asking other companies to bid on its license plate reading surveillance contract. Our Spencer Soysher learned there aren't many replacement options, and the ones that we've learned the city is considering are pretty similar to Flock.
There were a lot of similar thoughts on our report that Denver's laying the groundwork to replace Flock with a different license plate surveillance company. We'll replace this creepy big brothery surveillance program with a little brothery surveillance program. This is kind of like saying you stop smoking cigarettes because you switched to cigars. And one suggestion for us, stop calling them license plate readers. These systems are much more than that. Well, Crypto Hunter 4970, that's actually a big part of this story tonight. And we'll get to that in a second.
These are the newer ones that I just got in. These are Verkada cameras.
Security tech researcher Ben Jordan is holding a camera that can feed data into Axon's database. Multiple informed sources have told us Denver will likely decide between Axon and Motorola for its license plate reader services. And city council aides are already asking Ben for his view.
I wouldn't see moving to Axon as an improvement from Flock Safety.
Ben says Flock and Axon's product are similar data-collecting ALPRs, automated license plate readers. But like Crypto Hunter 4970 wanted us to tell you, they do far more than just read plates. Kind of like how you call your iPhone your phone. These can live stream video, follow a person walking, determine a car's make, model, and color, even the dents on it.
They make money off of data.
Axon and Flock were actually integrating technology together until their public breakup last year. And then Axon launched their own product.
Between Flock, Axon, and Motorola, up until a year ago, I would probably say that Motorola would be the best of the three.
Ben says Motorola's cameras used to be like the ones on a toll lane. One purpose, read the license plate.
But now they have this vehicle manager software that is more or less trying to do the same thing that Flock Safety does.
Ben thinks Denver could stop some of the outside concerns by buying the physical cameras and then creating their own server to store the data on.
I don't understand why a major city needs to rely on and trust a tech company to handle this type of data for them.
Axon says it does not have a national data sharing network like the one that Flock has that ended up with Denver's data on it. Both Axon and Motorola did not respond to our multiple requests for comments on this story, though, Kyle.
We're sure, though, that Flock is out. Flock's not going to swoop back in, right? That's a bird joke.
Flock says that they did apply for this new contract.
Uh-oh.
But the mayor's office had told me that even if they wanted to, they didn't have to put out a new contract here. Flock could have easily just had it extended. So opening this up gives other companies an opportunity. And they also told me that this needs to go past the city council. And I think we've seen how the Denver City Council members have responded to a lot of their interactions and some of the things that have happened with Flock.
It's like if somebody announced, I'm open to dating other people.
Yeah.
The person you're dating could apply to be in the pool, but the entire circumstance suggests it's over.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
All right, Spencer, thank you. Hard to pick a most important moment from American history as the nation nears a banner birthday.
We took on about 50 moments in American history, moments that made us, if you will.
Boo, cowards, pick 250. Come on, what are you afraid of hard work? History Colorado walks us through their birthday exhibition ahead of America's 250th. Next. No pressure, but History Colorado has two landmark events to celebrate this year. America's 250th, Colorado's 150th. Our producer, Mallory, thinks that she can trip me up by making me tell you that Colorado's 150th is called the Sesquicentennial. What now, Mallory? What now? Our Byron Reed has the story.
Moments in time can define us.
We are looking at a corn cob that we believe dates to about 800 years ago.
They're parts of our history that Dr. Gwen Lockman values.
It's really exciting to get to engage with some of the most renowned institutions in the United States to bring history to Coloradans and to people who are visiting Denver. This is a tape recorder on loan from the National Archives in DC. This tape recorder was used by President Richard Nixon's secretary, Rosemary Woods.
Lockman is the senior exhibition developer at History Colorado. Their exhibition, Moments That Made Us, is part of their dual celebration of America's 250th and Colorado's 150th birthdays.
We took on about 50 moments in American history.
The display traces 50 pivotal turning points in U.S. history, including major moments shaped here in Colorado and moments that shaped Colorado.
But you'll see throughout time we have Colorado being a leader in the fight for women's suffrage. You also see our role in the gold rush. For better or for worse, it does grow. What is the American West?
The space contains artifacts tied to events like early colonization, westward expansion, and civil rights.
We have a yearbook from Little Rock Central High School in Arkansas on loan from the National Park Service. We have a spoon made by Paul Revere and a copper coffee pot from the time of the Boston Tea Party.
It's moments like these Lockman wants visitors to experience.
There's a certain magical quality to seeing the real stuff.
And celebrate the milestones that shaped who we are.
I hope that they see their connection to the past and what their role can be in the future. And I hope they see that history is never inevitable.
For Next, I'm Byron Reed.
May I make a recommendation? Reporting that did not come from our team, but I think you'll find it fascinating.
McKinnon is 31 now and has applied for a birth certificate multiple times for half of her life now. She's been denied every time.
Abigail can't participate in modern life. She legally doesn't exist.
Reporter Dan Boyce from Colorado Public Radio recently did some fantastic reporting on an issue that I had never considered. What happens if your parents don't register your birth? Like they don't get you a birth certificate. It's as if you don't exist in the eyes of the government. In the case of 31-year-old Abigail McKinnon, it means she can't legally get married, hold a job, get health insurance. McKinnon says she is the only one of her 11 siblings born in Colorado. The rest of her siblings have been able to successfully apply for a delayed birth certificate later in life. Her fight is now pushing regulators in our state to consider relaxing the rules while they still try to fend off fraud. This is interesting stuff. We've linked to that full CPR story for you to read or listen to on Next social media accounts and on the recommendation page of 9news.com. We are back with your feedback. Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
Next. How polite we are around here.
Mm-hmm.
Erica was one of a couple of people to write in and ask what happened to those poor goats in the I-25 wreck. Obviously, we focused on the human life, but it's always fair to ask these questions. So, Erica, we checked with our news desk, and they tell us that there were 32 goats involved in the crash. 28 of the goats survived. Bob, watching tonight's broadcast, Palantir's revenue was $4.5 billion, not the $1.5 billion referenced in the piece. Marshall got back to Bob. I'll get back to you. That's a very good catch. We were talking about the net income line. Thank you for watching carefully. It really does matter.